Why does sex dissipate in marriages, and is it really that common?
Well, the divorce rate is about 56%. And if, it's funny, I was talking to a good friend of mine earlier today, and he's got a bunch of friends that are married. His wife passed away a couple years ago, and he's like, they're all like pretty much roommates. He said about 20% of them are just like roommates, and they don't really like each other. And he's like, so when you take that into account, you're probably 75, maybe 80% of the people are just not happy in their long-term relationships. And so statistically, if you were going to invest in something or buy something and there's a 75, 80% chance that it's not going to work out, it's like the downside risk, the odds are not in your favor. And so obviously the stats are not good. And what typically happens, because guys are coming to me because their girlfriends or their wives or a girl they were dating has friend zoned them, has served them with divorce papers, or wants to get a divorce, or is not attracted, or doesn't want to date him anymore, or wants to break up. And what typically happens, the same thing happened with Tom Brady and Giselle. We talked about that in a video. It's like what Giselle said is he wasn't present. He wasn't there. He wasn't there enough for her and what she wanted and a father figure for the children. And it's, he's focused on football. He's not dating and courting her properly like he should be. The love stories ended. They're kind of more like roommates than anything. And that's what happens. And that's what my friend was talking about. I was like, yeah, they're all kind of roommates. They don't even hold hands. They don't have sex anymore. They're just kind of existing together. And that's obviously a big complaint that you ladies tend to have, is the guy's romantic at first, then after, it's like once he feels like he's won you over, doesn't date you as much, he just kind of wants to hang out around the house, order some takeout food, and I don't want to spend any money, or I want to save money. He doesn't send you flowers anymore. He's like, well, that's kind of expensive, and we were dating back then. But you guys know, if a guy cares, he's still going to do the little things, and if he doesn't care, he'll make excuses. And most guys, when you bring that stuff up to them, that, hey, you want to go out more, you want to date more, you want to do the fun things that you used to do, the guy gives I just took you on a vacation a few weeks ago, or, hey, we just had dinner a few weeks ago. And all you're really trying to ask for is, hey, take me on a date, romance me, make me feel like you care. And then when the guy starts defending what he's doing, his behavior, in essence is saying, no, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to take you. I'm not going to do the things that you're saying that you want. And after a certain period of time, you could bring it up enough, eventually you realize that he's not going to listen. He's not going to do the things that you're asking, and then the choice becomes, you put up with it and that's the standard, or you leave the relationship. And it's like, when I talk to guys that have gotten left, I was like, well, tell me what she complained about all the time. Because when he tells me what the woman consistently complains about, then I know right away where they were going wrong, or where he was going wrong, where he was doing things that were unattractive. And so that gives me insight on what the guy is not doing properly to cause her to feel attraction. And so it's, when you live with somebody, it's like, you start dating, and especially, if you're really attracted, you're really into each other, you're going to have sex a lot typically in the beginning. And it does taper off, and what you see, especially in a lot of long-term relationships, is it gets to the point where they're only having sex once or twice a month for a release. And then there's no intimacy, there's no affection. And then when the guy does want sex, he usually wants you to drop what you're doing and have sex, and he hasn't taken you out on a date in weeks. When he's come home busy from work, he never takes the time to say, hey, how are you? How was your day? And so there's so much distance, and there's a lack of intimacy and closeness there. And it's, plus the longer you're in a relationship, it's easy to get lazy and complacent. Because you live together, like, she's not going anywhere. I'm really tired. This weekend we'll spend some time together. And then the weekend comes around, he's in the garage, he's got stuff to do, or he's got errands he's got to run, and then he doesn't make the time. And that's the important thing. The guy does not make the time. But, every woman's got their limit at some point. That, if you don't date and court your wife or your girlfriend, eventually some other guy will. If you're not taking time to open her up, making time to make her feel heard and understood and know what's going on in her life, that, guy at the office that she told you not, you don't have to worry about. He's just a friend. He takes the time to open her up. He takes the time to listen to her, talk about her problems or what's going on in her life the way you used to. And then what happens is she's given up on you because you no longer make the effort. She's tired of complaining, and then now she's got, the guy at work who is taking the time. And then that's how affairs start to happen, is that some other guy starts providing, the intimacy that she was missing in the relationship. And statistically, good relationships are, the sex is happening at least 2 to 3 times a week. When it's like once a week or less, it 95% is going to end in divorce or a breakup. So you have to have that closeness. And the longer you're in a relationship, especially as a guy, I mean, if you're a guy applying what's in my book, you're going to get to a place where the girl's going to be wanting sex more than you. And there's going to be times when she's going to want sex, and you're like, I'm tired, let's do it later, maybe this weekend. It's like, even if you don't feel like it, you got to remember 2 to 3 times a week. So if your girl is wanting to get freaky, take the time and beat up her pelvis. Give her a few orgasms, because it'll bring you guys closer together. It'll make her feel like you care, especially if you take the time, so she enjoys it and she feels fulfilled versus, arguing with her or being cranky or telling her you're tired, or, the things that women often complain when the guy wants to have sex and she doesn't want to give it up. It's if you're going to be in a relationship, especially if you're living together and you're the man, you better be having sex at least 2 to 3 times a week if you want to keep the closeness and the intimacy. Because once it drops below once a week, it's, eventually she's going to be looking for the exits. You just have to do it. There's going to be times where you don't feel like it. You're going to be tired. Maybe your back is sore or whatever. But, you got to do your duty as a man.
You got to make sure her back and her body's sore, too.
Yeah, you got to blow her back out. You got to beat up her pelvis.
I know. I was in a relationship one time. This guy was, this is another thing saying money doesn't matter. He was like a multimillionaire. Lamborghinis, Aston Martins. And then we would go out when we first started dating, like, all the time, do fun stuff. And, then, we dated for, like, a year. And after that year mark, it just kind of went...
He stopped taking you out?
Yeah, and then
So you just go over to his house, have sex?
Well, we lived together.
Ah, okay.
So we lived together, and it was just like, he would want to just stay home and watch TV, and then I'm like, okay, because we used to have a morning ritual where we'd go to eat breakfast at this place, and we stopped doing that. He just wanted me to make breakfast, which was fine, because I cooked too, which was, I didn't mind, but it's like, okay, after like a couple of months of not doing that, and then not going out, and then not really doing anything. And, like, he would be on business stuff. Like, he would go out and he'd be like, oh, well, it was business. You can't go. I'm like, then why is this person? He's like, because, like, and I was young, too. I think I was 27, 28. And so, I don't know. He was older, so it just eventually I wasn't attracted to him anymore.
He stopped dating and courting you.
Yeah.
And then he didn't take the time to make you feel heard and understood.
Yeah.
Hey, how's your day? He didn't care what was going on in your life anymore. And then when he was horny, he expected you to drop what you were doing and give it up.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes I did, and then finally I was just like, this is not where...
So you became roommates.
Yeah, I was like, this is not where I need to be. I was like, so I moved out, and then we still kind of, like, dated or whatever. It was just better for him. But now he's like, you're the last girl. I haven't talked to him in, like, months. He's like, but this was, like, a while ago that we dated, and I had talked to him, like, this was like 5 months ago or so. He was saying that, he's like, I haven't dated anybody, like, actually called somebody my girlfriend since you. He's like, I've been, like, seeing this lady, but he's older. He doesn't want, he's like, I don't want a girlfriend, so I can just leave whenever I want to. I'm not committed to her. He's like, she calls me her boyfriend, but I'm not her. She's not my girlfriend. I'm like, that's kind of messed up. He's like, well, it's not. So I think that's where he was going with me, where he just kind of was like, I don't really want to be
in a relationship.
Right. So we just kind of was like, we're still friends, but after that I was like, no.
You lost attraction and respect.
Yeah.
So he stopped doing the little things. I mean, that is pretty common. That's, like I said, it's always, when I talk to guys, it's the same 2 things over and over and over again. He stopped dating and courting her, and the romance ended, basically. And then he didn't take the time to make her feel heard and understood, and when you're first dating, you take the time to see what's going on in her life. You're taking the time to get to know her.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, the average guy, they get in the routine and they just assume you're going to stick around, and they're being a great provider. He's got a nice house. He's got nice cars. Everything, you know, got
That stuff
food.
doesn't
You're eating in nice
matter.
restaurants when you do go out.
Yeah.
And instead, you just basically became like his roommate and his, you know, how often after a year were you guys having sex?
I mean, we did it like once a week, but
And when you first started dating, how often were you having sex?
like 3 times a day. Yeah. So it's like, and then most like I was like, okay. He's like, just give me like 5 minutes. I'm like, all right. This is not fun. I don't want to do that. It's not fun for me. Who wants to do that? And like, that's why I was like thinking like girls, like, it's like, I don't know how they have the conscious, like, to just to go out with these men that spend money on them, and this like, you like that life? Like, you like going out and like sleeping with them, and then just be like, how about that purse now? Or was it? Have you seen the meme where it's like the girl's like, it's like, I'll get you the Louis Vuitton in a minute, in the morning, and she's just like, But it's like, I don't know how girls just go out with men for money and then not just feel anything, and then they expect you
Chad
to kiss.
Thundercock coming over later, you know, like that video with the real attractive girl. She's like, I got 5 boyfriends.
Oh, I saw that.
I think we did a reaction video.
She's like, I have one for like sex, one for going out, one for
gifts and stuff.
Yeah, I'm like,
she's got a Frankenstein boyfriend project going on.
Yeah.
And the problem is she doesn't have one guy that fulfills all the needs, and so she's got a Frankenstein boyfriend project. And then she was like, you know, the one guy, the sex is amazing, or, you know, she's like, the guy she has sex with,
he's poor.
He's like, why, you
doesn't
know,
have a job.
And then she's like, but I would never date him or have a relationship. And he's like, well, why? Because he's broke. He doesn't have a job. And he's like, well, then why are you having sex with him? And she's like, because it's good dick, you know. And it just came right out. And it's so she didn't care. That was the guy that fucked her properly. And he didn't have to bring anything else to the table. And so the intimacy, you know, there's probably, you know, one of the other 5 guys is like the emotional tampon. It's like when she's going through a rough time, she always calls him.
Yeah.
And he's always there for her and listens to her. Then you got guys that take her out to dinner, and then other guys that buy her things and take her shopping and stuff like that, and they enjoy the companionship. And meanwhile, she's only sleeping with the one guy. The Chad Thundercock is a total loser, but he's probably young and handsome, and he's great in bed. And so she gets what she needs from 5 different dudes, basically.
Yeah,
but none of them are, you know, a guy she's going to have a relationship with.
Wouldn't they expect her to...
She doesn't tell them about all the other guys.
Yeah, I know.
They don't
know.
But they don't ask either.
Wouldn't they expect her to... Eventually, they're going to want something more than a peck on the cheek.
Well, it's like some of these older guys, it's like they just want somebody to go to dinner with sometimes.
Just because she's not sleeping, she's only sleeping with one, doesn't mean she's not doing other stuff.
Yeah.
I doubt she's going to put all of her business online like that.
Oh, yeah, true.
Well, I mean, all those guys, I think, thought that, if I remember right, thought that she was their girlfriend.
Yeah.
And so, in essence, she's compartmentalizing her life. And so she's told each guy a story that they bought hook, line, and sinker in order for her to continue operating with, in essence, 5 different dudes who don't, know about each other. So
I hope it gets back to one of them.
Yeah, a chick like that, I would have asked, like, tell me about your home life. Are you close with your dad or your parents together? And 99% of the time, you're going to find out she's coming from a broken home, maybe had no relationship with her dad, or she doesn't respect her father, or the parents were cheating on each other all the time. It's like, in other words, she learned that behavior from her family. That her background and how she was raised is why she became that way.
Yeah.
And then you take that with the fact that she's really hot, and so she's able to get away with a lot of things because, most guys are very thirsty. And they'll put up with all kinds of disrespect and bullshit just to hang out with a pretty girl.